Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to EGO Initiative, where we focus on prioritizing our wellness daily. Today, I'm going to be sharing an updated weekly planning routine as was requested on Instagram. So, I actually use the Happy Planner, but a mixture of other planners as well. So, here's a quick flip through of the sections I have in my planner. I have a daily section, personal development section, spiritual wellness section, a business and work section, personal development, in my content planning section. So this style of planning with sections is called a Franklin planning system. I use a Happy Planner plus different planner inserts that I either designed myself or I got off of someone else who designs planner pages. So I'm going to be doing a full walkthrough of each section in my planner later on, but just wanted to share what my updated weekly planning looks like. So as usual, I start with the Google Calendar. This is still similar to what I do now, what I used to do before. If you haven't seen my previous video, I will link it up below, but I start with my Google Calendar. This is where I update the most every week. Then I come and look at all the tasks that I have. So I'm going to head to the week that I'm filming. It is the week of the 23rd to the 29th. And so I just look at the calendar for that week and all the activities that I have. I just list out on a blank piece of paper in terms of what the activity is or what the meeting is or whatever it is. Then I write the dates that I've scheduled myself to do them based off of what I inserted into my Google Calendar. So that's still the same part. My Google Calendar is where I start from, is where I update the most when I have new tasks, new things that I want to plan ahead. That's the first part that I update. And then because that's linked to my phone as well, so if I'm not away, if I'm not near my planner at the time, I can always just put that in my phone or my Google Calendar, and then each week I come and see the updated list of tasks. I write it out as per usual, just in terms of category of tasks this time, and then the days that I need to work on those tasks. And once I am done that, then I will transfer, I'll look over it, and then I will transfer over sort of the top priorities, like the general priorities based on all of the list of tasks that I have. I'll write out my top priorities on the left side here of my daily planner. My daily planner is also something that is different from the last time. So this sheet I actually created myself, similar to most hourly planners is how I created it. But I only literally have Monday to Friday because Monday to Fridays are the only days that I'm heavily planned and have to stick to a specific schedule. And so I really only have Monday to Friday on this. So as I mentioned, I'm just writing out the top priorities for the week based off of that list that I made there on the blank piece of paper on the left side there. So I'm just making sure that I add those priorities on the left side and then I check them off as I go throughout the week. So this is probably the main thing that's different. Before I had a section in my planner where I wrote out my weekly tasks, so to speak, per day. And I found that that was not working because half the time I wasn't getting through some of those tasks per day. And it was a source of stress eventually for me. And so, the idea around planning is to see what works for you and then update along as you go so that your planning actually works for you and you're not just planning for the sake of planning, but it is actually something that is feasible for your lifestyle and what you are doing and supports you. What I do then on a daily basis, so either the night before or the day of, is that is where I will write out my top 3 tasks for the day in that box at the top there. And then my days are sort of outlined per day as opposed to doing it all in a week. All I really do on a weekly basis, which makes my planning so much easier, is write out all the list of things that I have to do right straight off of my Google Calendar, write out the priorities on the left side there. And then from the priorities again, and from that list on the left side, I'm able to take on each day what are the priorities, the top 3 things that I can do for that day. And then I kind of go through my day based off of some of the habits that I've built over time and habits that work for whatever the top priorities are for that day. And then I list it out per hour. So I usually wake up between 5:30 to 6 a.m. and 6 a.m. is when I start my morning routine. Really, And then I know that I eat breakfast around noon. I have lunch around 3 p.m. and I have dinner around 7 p.m. So I list those things out in terms of like, this is what I'm having breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then the day of, I actually fill in those pieces. So that, again, that is something that's different, just so I have certain habits that I have planned out, but I also want to see how I show up in those habits per day and whether or not I still need to change those habits. So I'm still very much in a phase of I'm just trying to see what habits still work best for me. And I always split my days up in terms of what my work looks like. So I have a 9 to 5. I write out when my 9 to 5 is for the day or when I'm working on my 9 to 5, and then when I'm focusing on my business. The stuff that I write in red is usually stuff that has come up that hasn't been part of my usual weekly routine. And so if someone books a call with me last minute on the day of, so to speak, like a consultation call with me, then I will put in that in red, and whatever is blue is more details on a day to day basis. So if I have certain meetings at my 9 to 5, I'll write out some of those meetings if I know them beforehand. And usually they are booked beforehand. I'll write them in blue. If they're booked last minute, then I write them in red. And so that is what I'm doing here. But again, the main difference is that I'm planning my day as I go, and I'm not sort of planning the bulk of it beforehand and then having to go through and be disappointed because I haven't completed certain tasks or done certain things, because your day shifts. You want to plan as much as you can, but at the same time things happen throughout your day that'll shift, throughout your week that'll shift. And so I'm taking this time to use this style of planning to make sure that I'm doing some sort of planning, but I'm also able to tweak things as I go along. And it's really helpful that I'm able to create the type of planner inserts that I need, which is why I chose the Happy Planner system, where I have the hole punch where whenever I create new pages, I can just hole punch them and put them right into the disk that I have there. And here I'm just being me and making sure things are nice and neat and drawing arrows and things of that nature in terms of like when I'm doing things until. And so, for instance, my 9 to 5 on that Monday, I'm working from 10 till 2. And then I start working on my business from around 2:30 until 7 p.m. basically. And so, yeah, I just draw arrows to kind of indicate how long I'm working on a specific task. I forgot here to write out the actual date in the bubbles, but that's usually one of the first things that I do. So that is pretty much it for I just schedule the day before, and that's it. And then throughout the day of, then I'll check mark the things that I've done or haven't done or need to think about moving forward for the next day. And then the last part of my weekly planning is my habit tracker. I write out, what week I'm focusing on, and then I list out all the habits that I would like to continue to track for that week. And I do this last because it's important for me to see what my week looks like and what my tasks are so I can shape my habits around those tasks. And for the most part, this is pretty much the same, to be honest. I have pretty much the same sort of daily habits and routines, but I do this anyways just to keep track of what I'm actually doing consistently, or what are some new habits that I need to cultivate, or what's working, what's not. So list out your habits, and then on the right side, there are these little bubbles per day. And what I do is I give myself a check mark if I actually completed that habit for the day, or I put an X if I didn't. And sometimes begin a check mark basically if I've done partial of it. So for instance, if here I say I'm going to read for 20 minutes, but maybe I actually only read like one page and it ended up being like less than 2 minutes. So I did read, I just didn't read for 20 minutes. Or if I wrote and it was only like a 10-minute free write, then I'll put like the bottom half of a check mark. So it just looks like kind of like a slash through the bubble. And then that just tells me that I attempted to at least started the habit. I just didn't complete it. And then I'll flip through to the previous week sometimes just to see what are some habits that I had last week that I might want to repeat, or, some things that I'm missing on my list of habits here. For the most part, I know them by heart, but if there are certain things that I want to repeat, then I go ahead and flip through and do so. But yes, that is all I have for you all today. I hope that this gave you some inspiration around how to start planning out your week. It's super simple. I think this is even more of a simpler system that I had previously. So I hope this gave you some tips for how to start using your planner or thinking about ways to be consistent with using your planner. This has been the best way for me so far. And of course, as I mentioned, I will do a more detailed planner flip through for you all at a later time. I'm actually going to be filming that today. I'm going to be filming my monthly planning routine today. And so once I get that edited, I'll also include an actual detailed walkthrough of my planner right now. As I mentioned, I use the Franklin planning system and it is working for me with a mix of the Happy Planner as well as planner sheets that I've created myself or planner sheets that other planning folks in the planning community have created and I have invested in. Again, I hope that this supported you. And of course, if you just want to be a part of the tribe, all you got to do is subscribe, make sure that you are staying hydrated, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace and love.